This video was brought to you by Cubamajigs, a series of reusable gaming packs for MTG keyboards and other games like Keyforge. Check them out at cubamajigs.com with new designs every Monday. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck. So as you probably know by now, Wednesday means it's Wildcard Wednesday, and this week, our deck lives up to the name. We are heading to Modern for a deck that I'm calling Gate Worship Walls. I don't even know. This is a wild mismatch of just stuff. Gates and gate payoffs and walls and arcades. And this deck is just really, really crazy. It comes to us from Ahara Kazuha, who took it to an undefeated finish in a small Japanese tournament. So congrats to Kazuha on a really sweet deck. A quick reminder before we break down Gate Wall Worship for Modern. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So before we talk about this absurd deck, gotta say as well, $200 in paper, 26 takes on Magic Online, so pretty cheap, not quite budget range in paper, but still, it's a really cheap deck. You probably have some of these cards from Standard. Anyway, let's talk about the absurdity that is Gate Worship Wall, starting with our mana base. So since we are a Gate deck, we got to start by talking about the land. So we have 3 Temple Garden, 3 Forest. That's fine. That looks like a modern mana base for the most part. But then things go a little bit off the rails. 4 Azorius Guildgate, 4 Golgari Guildgate, 4 Selesnya Guildgate, toss in 4 Simic Guildgate, a couple of Orzhov Guildgates. Altogether, our modern deck has 18 gates. 18 gates in our deck. So why in the world are we playing so many gates? And here the answer is, we have some gate payoffs. Starting with our new standard gate payoff, Guild Summit. So Guild Summit draws a bunch of cards when it comes into play if we have gates, since we can tap them. And then whenever a gate comes into play, we get to draw another card. So this is essentially, with 18 gates in our deck, gonna just draw us an extra card every single turn. So absurd card advantage with Guild Summit. Then we have a lesser known gate payoff, another 3-mana enchantment, Hold the Gates. So Hold the Gates, this card gives each of our creatures +0/+1 for each gate we control, and also Vigilance. So let's say we have 5 gates on the battlefield, all of our creatures are getting +0/+5. That is a lot of toughness. Of course, it's toughness though, so what are we going to do with it? Just block really well, hold down the gates? Well, that's where the deck kind of takes another twist. We are trying to attack equal to our toughness with the help of Assault Formation, 1 Arcades, 1 Doran. So we have 4 cards that do kind of a weird mismatch of the same thing. Assault Formation, Arcades can let our defenders attack. All these cards have our stuff deal damage equal to their toughness. Arcades, just 4 creatures that have Defender. But really, all these cards allow us to deal damage equal to our toughness. And that means our Hold the Gates suddenly becomes very offensive once we get these cards down. If we have those 5 gates, we're not giving our creatures +5 toughness, we're actually giving them +5 attack, really, which means, let's say Doran, with those 5 gates in the Hold the Gate, it's a 10/10. It's a 10/10. It's attacking for 10 mana as a 3-drop. Arcades is attacking for 10 damage in the air with Vigilance, so it gets really insane really quick. So that is kind of plan 1 of the deck. Then we have kind of our other creatures. Birds of Paradise just ramps us into our other stuff. Helps make up for the fact we have so many tap lands. Sylva Caryatid, kind of the same way, except it gives us a high toughness creature with one of our damage equal to toughness things out. It's getting in for 3 already, and that doesn't even include the toughness boost from Hold the Gates. Then we have our biggest, baddest threat, Wall of Shards. Assuming we have our Arcades or our Assault Formation, it's basically an 8/8 flyer for 2 mana. Yes, it makes our opponent gain some life. No, we don't especially care, because we're hitting for 8 in the air with our 2-drop. And then we have a random and somewhat janky assortment of walls. 1 Wall of Omens to draw a card, 1 Spellskite to protect our stuff. Tree of Redemption, it's technically a 13/13 for 4 if we have down all of our pieces, and it can gain us a bit of life against aggro if things go well. Finally, a way to make use of the copies that you picked up in your master's set. Then we have Knight of Autumn, and you're probably thinking, why Knight of Autumn? And I was thinking that as well. Why Knight of Autumn in this deck? And I believe the answer is we have Knight of Autumn for general purpose value, for one thing. Like, it's a fine card in general. Getting rid of artifact and enchantment is nice. Gaining life is nice. Being fairly big for a 3-drop is nice. But I think this is so we can blow up our own guild summit, because there is a risk, as we've seen in standard gate decks, that you just draw your entire deck and mill yourself out. So Knight of Autumn lets us draw a bunch of cards with our guild summit, and then if we get to a point where we're afraid we're going to deck ourselves, we can Knight of Autumn to kill our old guild summit so we can keep playing our gates and not mill ourselves out. Then we have the Worship, and Worship is basically just our answer to combo decks and other kind of unfair decks in Modern. Worship, as long as we have it on the battlefield and a creature, damage that would reduce our life to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So we basically can't die to damage if we have Worship in a creature. Well, we're going to have all these walls with incredibly high toughness, some of them with hexproof like Sylvan Curie added, so this can't just lock decks out of ever killing us, and that's basically the plan of the deck. Play a bunch of gates, draw a bunch of cards, play Hold the Gates to make our creatures massively high toughness, use that toughness to kill our opponent. If that's not working, we could just Worship and stay alive forever, hopefully figure out a way to win the game eventually. Heroic Intervention just protects our stuff. It protects our creatures. More importantly, it protects all permanents. So it also protects our Worship, our Guild Summit, our Hold the Gates. And then we have in the sideboard, we already talked about the lands, million gates. Sideboard-wise, Crumble the Dust, say no to losing to Tron, basically. This is just a Tron killer, especially if we can cast it quickly. Auriok Champion to help against aggro, gaining his life as we play our janky creatures. Pithing Needle, kind of a catch-all. Stifle Bird, Nimble Obstructionist for, I guess, general purpose value as well. Damping Sphere for combo decks. And that is, I don't even know, Gate Worship Walls. An insane deck, tons of gates, tons of spice. Will this deck work? I have absolutely no idea, but it is crazy, and apparently it did good enough to top a small Japanese tournament, so that's something. Anyway, that's been our Instant Deck Tech for today. Gate Worship Walls, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.